Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. A real pleasure to have you here with us at the 81st Venice Film Festival. Maybe just by way of introduction, in your own words, you can tell us a bit about Sicilian Letters. What can audiences expect going into your film?
The film is about a very well-known figure in Italy because this was a very well-known criminal, has been 30 years on the run. Everyone in Italy knows who he is. After 30 years, last year in January, he was finally arrested because he was sick, and shortly after, he died in prison. The Italian audience is curious what are we going to do with this kind of figure. And actually, this was the beginning of our interest because we wanted to question how it is possible that a criminal like this, because he was considered one of the most dangerous criminals in the world, can stay on the run for such a long period.
I guess we can see this as part of a trilogy with your two previous films.
Yeah.
Maybe you can talk a bit about that, how they sit together, and more broadly, your sort of fascination with this area, with this topic,
Yeah.
and why you wanted to explore it in all these different ways.
Antonio and I both come from Sicily. We are from Palermo. We grew up in the most terrible period of our recent history because we were kids in the 80s. We have been there in the 90s. So we spent the most important part of our life when the mafia power was at its top. And nowadays, it's like we are dealing with the consequences of on a social, cultural, anthropological level of this suffocating power. All the themes we deal with concerning this experience are the basis of our trilogy. We started the trilogy with our first film, Salvo. It was a sort of black noir. And then we went through a dark fairy tale. And the last part of the trilogy, it's what we say a black comedy. For us, it's the film that can close our investigation about what a population, a civilization has become.
I was reading in your director's note, I'm going to misquote you, something to the effect of reality was the jumping off point rather than the destination.
Yes.
How did you kind of take sort of that balance of real life facts and then sort of take creative discretion to tell your story?
All the elements of Sicilian letters come from real facts, real things happening in the life of this criminal, up and through in different years. But for us, this is just a starting point, because you know these facts are real, but it's like the surface of things. Then we have to dig inside, we have to go under the surface in order to let us perceive the inner forces battle there. Then the way we put together all the pieces of the puzzle, it's our personal way as a storyteller. The way we put together all the pieces shape different possible questions, and we can suggest some possible solution. But the most important thing to us is raising question for the audience, questioning what the audience has in front of his eyes, but what is also out of the frame, what is behind the frame. And we can shape this kind of rhythm through our imagination, but the conclusion, they never contradict the reality of things. It's like we put some questions and we want the audience perceive and thinking about this question, because many facts connected with the recent history of Sicily and Italy are far from truth. We are still, some of us, looking for real answer, not superficial and fake answers.
And what a phenomenal cast you put together, but particularly right at the centre of it, Eddie Germano as Matteo, and of course the great Tony Sevilla as Catello. taking these two huge names in Italian cinema and putting them on screen together must have just been fantastic. But I guess beyond that, how did you work with them to develop these characters, especially, perhaps with Matteo more, because based on a real person, how you were creating his physicality as well as taking elements of his character?
When we brought the first few pages of this idea to our producer Nicola Giuliano, immediately together we thought about Elio Germano, Anthony Servillo being possibly the main actors of the film. And we decided to share with them from the beginning, and they were happy of the idea, happy of working together. We started developing the project with the two of them. They were part of the process. And that was helping us a lot because we knew that it was going to be them saying certain lines. And then, especially for Elio and the work with this, started studying all the material, all the different trials, the facts, the non-facts about this guy before the arrest. After the arrest, he had a peculiar source of material because this guy he was arrested because he was sick and he was going to the hospital, and he was obsessed with women and sex, and he was befriending every single woman at the hospital with him with a fake identity and sending audio messages that were published by the news. And so we had this voice, which was also confirming the idea of the character as a hyper narcissistic child, criminal child in a way. And obviously for Elio was also important to hear the tone, the voice, the way he was saying things. And then he moved there. Elio believes in the identification with the character he's portraying. So he moved there, he stayed there for a long time. In the real place, and I was working also with another actor as a dialogue coach for this peculiar accent of this area of Sicily, which is very peculiar. Elio has this incredible, extraordinary talent of changing his body. And you don't say he's always him, but he's different at the same time.
In terms of, like mentioning there, do you feel that in the past sometimes mafia films, gangster films, maybe kind of slightly romanticizing the idea of these criminals, whereas, like you say, kind of tapping into this idea that actually there's, a real narcissist lying beneath that, and perhaps showing quite a different viewpoint on this person was also really something important in your...
Actually, even the mafia guys actually love Francis Ford Coppola trilogy. And in Matteo's hideout were found 212 DVDs, including Antonioni's Blow Up, the entire first season of Sex and the City, and obviously the Godfather's trilogy, because they do have romantic idea of themselves. That's the first thing you have to destroy when making a movie. You have to show their use pochezza in Italian, which is the emptiness, the emptiness of their soul. And even the fact that Matteo is peculiar, because Matteo was reading, Matteo Messina Denaro was reading. He had on the bed table of his last hideout, they found Baudelaire, he had Dostoevsky, he had other books, but all this was actually nurturing his narcissistic personality. So what in this film we were showing him also as the poisoned fruit of a strongly and extremely pathological patriarchal society. He's a son. is a son of a specific father. And these kind of fathers are the fathers who have somehow destroyed our society.
And in terms of that, the impact of the film, obviously exploring, these fascinating characters, sort of overturning maybe some of the usual trappings we have of a mafia film. But like you said at the beginning, is there some kind of reckoning that you think needs to happen, about the impact of the mafia stronghold in Sicily, and like you say, how it could have possibly gone on for so long that he was never discovered, who would have to have been complicit in that to allow that to happen. So hopefully raising some questions and not letting something just be relegated to the past, but actually be unearthed and discussed in the present.
Yes, this is important for us, especially for Italian audience, of course, because we are involved in this kind of stories altogether. The thing is that now it's dead. What is the risk that because it's dead, we close the topic? And you know what? It's not time to close the question there regarding his life, his being on the run for 30 years, because in his life there are some possible answer to bad things of recent Italian history. So we still have to dig inside those questions. We as a storyteller, we do with our own tool and skill. Other people will do it for other purpose. But if we don't arrive to the truth about some things happen in our recent history, we will remain trapped in this eternal present without being able to go toward a possible different future.
Absolutely. I think I'm out of time. Thank you so much for sharing that with me.
Thank you.
Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Presenting it in Venice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.